Everyone, here goes nothing. Welcome. Hi to all those who are watching later. I'm going to go around the back end of my cart and see if everything's working. Dog. Oh, okay. Baby, it's a lot of sealing. Can we,
Yeah.
Thanks for your patience, you guys. Can you, lean the camera forward?
That's what I'm trying to do. But, yeah, like that?
A little more so that this light isn't shining in their eyes. Who just joined? Does someone join? That's great. I think that's perfect. Yeah?
Yeah.
I think that's okay. Tell me if you guys don't like the camera angle and we'll change it.
POV.
Okay. Well, so because, someone joined. Hi, Polly. Welcome. Because of the nature of live cook-alongs, I just realized I don't have the oregano that I told you guys to get. So I'm going to tell you when to put it in. And I'm just going to use a different spice, and you're going to see that actually cooking is super flexible. So today we're making a cabbage slaw. So I didn't use all purple cabbage, but because of the dyes in the purple cabbage, it actually turns the whole slaw purple, which is really awesome. And why I really love making this because, as some of you know, the colors of your food indicate what nutrients are in there. So purple and those really dark colors, so blueberries, raspberries, purple cabbage, purple carrots, beets, all of them have these antioxidants. And usually the way that... I'm out of red wine vinegar too! No, look, I'm out of red wine vinegar. I'm literally just going to use whatever I have under here. My dog is catching bugs right under the camera. So we'll see what she caught. Hopefully nothing too scary. Yeah, so don't worry about it, Polly. I just use whatever vinegar I have in the house. Hi, Samantha. So, yeah, red wine vinegar is pretty because it's red, but I think I'm going to use this plum vinegar. I actually went to go see if I had any, and I didn't. So, I have this Ume plum vinegar. It's actually known for being salty, so on second thought, I'm probably not going to use it. So, let's see. I have balsamic, white wine. Here, I probably just will use white wine vinegar. It's not going to ruin your slaw. You just want something sour. You could even use lemons, limes if you have that. Samantha, I'm reading your comment about the dog eating bugs. The other day, she caught a mouse. It was wild. Okay, so we're going to get started with knife safety. Okay, so I talk about this every time, and I think it's really important. You have to have a sharp knife. Hi, Navid! If you're feeling really wild, you can come back here and join me, Nav. So you have to have a sharp knife, and that junk that you have in your kitchen usually doesn't cut it. Yes, this is going to be full of distractions, but Samantha got me this apron. It says warm wishes, and I thought it was very appropriate with the polar vortex that's happening in the north central, what's it called?
The
Midwest and the East Coast. Thank you. I have my handy dandy sous chef over here. So it says warm wishes, and that's how I feel about the people who are in this polar vortex. I hope you stay warm. Don't know if cabbage slaw is the best for a polar vortex situation, but I always have this on the countertop. I always have some marinating so that I can always add it to my food. For those of you who missed it, I showed a picture while I showed you my live version. This gets better the longer it's on your countertop. So I like to make it and then eat some that day, but it's not the best the first day. It's actually better along the way. So I was talking about knives, and you know your knife is sharp when you guard it with your life and you don't let anyone else use it and you take it on vacation. So this knife I took on vacation this week, and it was great because I could cook and chop vegetables no problem because I brought my own knife. So that's how you know if your knife is sharp enough, if you start to worry about what's going to happen to it when you're not around. So you want to get a knife that's sharp, and when you wash it, you're going to wash it and dry it immediately. Don't put it in your dish rack. Don't put it in your sink with your other knives. I have a knife, a magnetic knife holder. I don't know if you can see it. So my dear husband is very supportive of my knife, and he washes it and dries it immediately and puts it on the knife rack. So like this when he's done. So that's super helpful, and a sharp knife is actually more safe than a dull knife, because a sharp knife, you won't have to put as much pressure to cut. And a sharp knife, when you do cut yourself, which I have, ask Navid, the cut is clean, and it's also usually not as deep because you're not putting as much pressure. So it heals quicker, it heals cleaner. If you're scared of sharp knives, you can always... Oh my dog is checking under the cart for more bugs, I think. So I bought some of these after my latest fiasco with a julienne, which we will talk about in future cook-alongs because I think they're awesome. But they're gloves that are protective for your hands, and they just protect you from knife cuts. So if you feel scared about sharp knives, just buy yourself some gloves and wear them while you're cutting. You won't regret it, promise. Sharp knives are the best. Okay, so we're going to start by learning how to cut a cabbage. So if you go to Trader Joe's or the other grocery store, you can get chopped cabbage for a fee. It costs a lot more money if the company chops it for you. Also, with the latest infections of vegetables, it actually gives it more opportunity to have diseases or infections or bacteria introduced to it because another person holds it and chops it. Well, not another person, but like a whole nother factory is going to come in contact with this to be able to chop it into little pieces. So in terms of food safety, there's less risk if you chop stuff yourself, and it's cheaper too. And all of us, once you see how easy it is to chop a cabbage, you'll be like, why did I pay someone else to do it? Because really, it doesn't save that many seconds. So it saves like maybe a minute if you're a really slow chopper. It saves a minute of your time, and it charges you way more than that. So I'm going to teach you how to chop cabbage. I tried to do this on my stories, but my phone was being a bummer, so we're going to do it here. Okay, sharp knife. In terms of knives, a 8 to 10 inch chef knife is really helpful for most tasks. You don't need 1,200 Cutco knives to be a good chef. Most good chefs have one knife they prefer, and then maybe like a little knife for paring, like for little fun things, and then if you eat bread, like a bread knife. That's it. So this, I think, is an 8 inch. I'm actually thinking that maybe someday in the future I would want a 10 inch, just because if you see the size of this versus the size of this, they're almost the same. So I'd like a little bit of a longer knife, but it doesn't keep me from cutting or anything like that. So first things first, when you're chopping and cutting, what brand is my knife? It says VestaWare. I bought it on sale on Amazon. Nothing crazy, I just protect the blade. That's it. So when you're going to cut it, the cabbage already has these grooves. You should be able to see that your cabbage has grooves. You want to cut it along one of those grooves. Or not. It just helps me cut half better. So then you're going to have two halves of your cabbage. So if you've never made this slaw before, We're going to start with a half batch so that you guys can see if you like it and where you want to use it, in what part of your meals and stuff. And that way, if you want to make more, you can. And if you don't want to make more, I'll tell you how I use cabbage when I'm not marinating it in a slaw. Okay? So I'm going to take the outer leaves off. And then I'm going to cut it in fourths. So I'm just going to cut it down again. So when you're cutting, you want your surface, whatever you're cutting, you want there to be a flat surface so that your veggie doesn't move around. Same thing with anything else you're cutting. So if you're cutting potatoes or something, you want to do the same thing. Cut them in half so that they have a steady surface when you start to chop. So I'm going to cut it in fourths. So now I have 2/4 of a cabbage. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to cut out this white piece in the corner. And I feed it to my dog. The reason we're going to cut it out is because it's a different texture than the rest of the cabbage. So here she is. She wants it. And it just makes it easier to chop because this is like a solid piece. So it actually changes the way you're chopping. Just easier to cut it out. I've noticed that when I'm talking to actual chefs, they get rid of so much of the food. I'm a little more conservative, but I'm learning how to, just put certain pieces of it to the side so that I can make a broth or a compost or something. Okay, so we're going to start on, can you see past the comments? I hope you guys can. I'm trying to arrange it so that the comments don't block this. Okay, so I'm starting on the edge, and look how I'm holding the knife. I have 3 fingers here and then 2 pinching it. And I learned this in my class and it's super helpful, is like a circular cut. So you're going to cut in a way that your knife doesn't come off the board. This is just a suggestion. It helps me cut much faster. You guys cut however you feel comfortable cutting, but I recommend you try this because it's a really fun cut and it actually allows me to cut really fast. I realize I'm wearing my husband's wedding ring from when he was doing dishes last night. So see how my wrist does kind of a circular motion on the board? That's how I'm going to be cutting, okay? That's why a longer knife is more helpful if you're cutting taller vegetables. Okay, so here I am. I'm cutting really thin pieces from the side of the cabbage, and I'm not modeling proper gripping behavior. You can see I have a bear grip here. And the bear grip is helpful because when you're cutting, you slice, it just grazes your knuckles, like if you get too close. And so that's why you tuck your little fingers under, and the only thing your knife should be touching is your knuckles. This is another way to keep your fingers safe. And watch out for that thumb, because I cut my thumb because I didn't tuck my thumb in as well. So you're going to grab your vegetable with this bear grip, and you're going to cut really thin slices. Was that surprising to you? New information? Okay. It's helpful for someone. So you're going to cut really thin slices here on the edge of your cabbage. And obviously I'm not a professional chef, so I'm not a super fast cutter, slicer. And you're just going to tuck your little fingers back as you see. I'm not even able to do the circle grip because my knife is not tall enough. But we're just going to continue. Or the circle cut. I don't know what the technique is officially called, but we'll just call it the circle cut around here. So if you have a smaller cabbage, you'll notice that your knife will be easier. How are your knives doing? Who's cutting with me? Is anyone out there slicing their cabbage? I'll let you respond while I cut the rest of this. Okay, so now I'm getting to the end and it's scaring me, so I'm just going to plop it to the side so that I don't cut myself, so that it's more steady, okay? So I just start from the edge again. Okay, pretty much got back to the little centerpiece, giving this to my dog. Yay! Okay, Polly's cutting. Excellent. How's your knife, Polly? Is it sharp? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this in my bowl, which you probably can't see because of the comments. This is where I'm going to put everything so you can see how pretty it is. Okay. I'm going to clean this. Okay. Alright. Next, we're going to do the same thing with the... I should have gotten a smaller piece. This is so big. Okay. This, I would call this a medium-ish head of cabbage. It's pretty big. It's hit or miss depending on where I go, what size I can get. But I use cabbage almost every day in something. I really like sauteing it or using it in this slaw. So we use it pretty often. So we'll definitely use it. Okay, remember, cut it in half. Samantha hides her knives from her roommate. I used to do that. I'm not condoning it, but I did used to do that. Okay, so quarters, and then I'm just taking off the leaves that don't seem to be sticking on. You don't need wild leaves around here, okay? And then remember, we're just cutting off this center piece, and Millie's ready to take whatever I'm not going to use. I wish you could see her. She's super cute. Okay. And see how it's steady, it's not wobbling around. And we start from the edge. We're going to do our circle cut. Woohoo! Look at us go. Circular, circular, circular cut. Circular, circular, circular cut. I'm not doing the grip. This is why I cut myself, is because I wasn't doing the bear grip. And if you could see, I'm actually going to show you. The way that I'm holding this, I'm going to come around. The way that I'm holding this, so if you saw, the knife is not super. The knife is going to be cutting like this, and see how far away my thumb is from the knife? It's tucked in, and it's in line, and it's not even close to where the knife is going to come down, okay? So make sure you tuck that thumb back, because you've got to protect your thumbs too. Okay. Here we go. Gonna keep cutting. Echo, stop. Alright. Okay. So, Polly, depending on the size of your cabbage, I don't know if you just want to try out a quarter of each or if you want to try out half of each. So we're just going to go ahead and do a quarter of each because it's basically filling my bowl so far, and seems like plenty of cabbage. That's the thing about cabbage, is that when you get it at the store, it's super compact, and then when you start cutting it, it explodes. I don't know if you just saw cabbage confetti fly around from my hands, but it takes up so much more room when it's not cut. But see how easy that was to cut, and now you never have to pay Trader Joe's to do it unless you're really super in a hurry and you just want to, you know, not get knives dirty or whatever. So yeah, I would recommend you never buy chopped cabbage again. All right. Millennials are killing the chopped cabbage industry.
That's right.
Okay, now we're going to talk about shallots. Have you ever seen shallots? These are shallots. They're like baby red onions. They technically have a different flavor profile. So at my Albertsons, they only sell red onions the size of my head. Well, not really, like half my head. And I love shallots because they have the flavor of red onions. They're smaller. I can cut one shallot at a time. I don't have to have a half open red onion in my fridge. So they're from the same family. I believe shallots are a little sweeter. I don't know. I love them. I love the way they taste. So we're going to use shallots. But I just wanted to tell you, if you have red onions, you can cut the red onions the same way that you cut your cabbage, okay? So you're going to cut your red onion in half. They're a perfectly acceptable substitute for shallots. Cut that red onion in half. Make sure the half is flat on your cutting board, and then just start at the edge and all the way in, okay? So if you have a red onion, that's what you're going to do. Okay, so we've got someone named Eric bringing us shallots. Perfect. And I believe Polly is probably going to know how to cut shallots, so I'm just going to keep going. So here's your little shallot. And it kind of reminds me, it's kind of in the way that it's like a little football. So sometimes you'll see that kind of like garlic, the shallots have like little pieces that are like clumped together. It doesn't have as many pieces as garlic does, but sometimes they do that, which is similar. So, okay. So how am I going to cut this? I think I'm going to cut this long ways, like this, down the middle. I just cut off the top and the bottom. That's all I did. Cut off the top, tip, and the bottom. The part with the roots and the part with the shoots. And I'm going to cut it down the center so that I have like a nice, long, flat piece to cut or to lay on the board. And then I'm going to peel off this outer layer just like an onion. So here's your shallot. And inside, it looks kind of like an onion. Well, because it is an onion, so it looks like an onion. And we're just going to peel off that outer skin layer. And that's it. Well, not that's it, but they're ready to cut. So bear grip, and we're just starting on the outside, and this is much easier to cut with my 8-inch knife. And you're cutting as thin as you can. And shallots, by the way, are a great topping for dips. You just fry, not fry, but stir fry, saute. You can saute them in the pan, and because they're so small, they get nice and crispy pretty fast, and they taste so good as garnishes on top of your dips or whatever you like to put garnish on. And I love red onion. Red onion and shallots. What is she talking about? Alright, so it was getting a little close to my fingers, so I just plopped it over on its side, and I'm just going to start from there. Just nice thin pieces in that circular cutting motion. Okay. I just put them straight into that bowl with everything else. Oh, that one was a little thick. I got really excited there. Okay. Yeah, you just have to train yourself to keep that bear claw activated, and that will really increase the safety of your cutting, is if you use that bear grip. Alright, so we got some shallots in there. Actually, personally, I would make sure that the end, you cut off most of it. Oops, Samantha has a comment about shallots. I used shallots for the crispy onions in my paleo green bean casserole on Christmas. We did too! Yes, at the top. And it seems like no matter how much shallots you put at the top, there's never enough because they're so good. I put it at the top for garnish, but then when I served myself, I just served myself all the shallots onto my plate. That's how good they are. So if you don't like red onions, try shallots because you may actually like them better. Okay. So 1 shallot, 2 shallots, 3 shallots more, 5 shallots, 6 shallots, 7 shallots.
What are you even making again?
We are making, that's a great question. We are making marinated cabbage slaw.
That's like curtido for all the Salvadorians.
Oh, for all the
there.
Salvies out there, it's like curtido, but it's not really fermented. You would be able to taste if it was fermented. You can leave it out to ferment, but we eat it so fast that it never ferments. So, personally. Okay, so cut it down the middle, cut off the tips, cut it down the middle, peeled off the outer layer. Oh, I'm just putting all the stuff in different places here. Okay. So, do I want to try to cut them both at once? Yes. Am I going to try to cut them both at once? Sure. Why not? Tracy! Tracy's here. Hi, Tracy. Welcome. We are making, I don't know if you caught it, we are making marinated cabbage slaw.
That's right.
Sorry, I have to remember what I named
it's
it.
Like curtido.
It doesn't really have a name at my house, but
more oil.
Oh yeah, curtido doesn't have oil. This has oil.
Yeah.
We just got cabbages everywhere flying around. Okay, so am I going to cut this? No. I'm not going to cut them both at the same time. I don't want to try to show off for you guys. So Tracy, what you missed. We had some cabbages. We cut the cabbage in half. Then we cut the cabbage in quarters. Then we cut the end, this little piece. Oh, it's easier to see on the purple one. We cut this piece, sliced it off the cabbage. Then we started from the edge and we sliced in really thin pieces all the way across. We filled this bowl with 2 different colors of cabbage and we started on the shallots. That's where we are now. Welcome, Tracy. Hope you're caught up. Tracy, are you cooking with me? If so, I can go slower, but if not, I'm just going to keep going. Let me know. Okay, so now we're cutting shallots, and this is my second shallot. You can add however many red onions you like. Oh, I keep calling them red onions. So red onions and shallots are very similar in taxonomy. They're related to each other. Shallots I find, tell me if I'm wrong, Polly, Samantha, shallots I find are a little bit sweeter, more mild. So if you hate red onions, you might, if you hate red onions, you probably won't like shallots, but if you don't like red onions, you might like shallots. So try them out. If you don't have shallots for this recipe, a red onion is a perfectly fine substitute. We do a lot of substitutions in this house. I hate going to the store, so we just figure out what works. If you ever want to know about a substitution, just put into Google, substitute for your ingredient, and it'll tell you. Holly says that shallots are more delicate. They're definitely more delicate because I managed somehow to slice them thinner. So they seem more delicate to me too. So, just going to finish cutting here. Getting real close to my fingers. Okay. Whew, starting to get that burn. Usually I don't because I wear contact lenses, but...
Going blind today.
Alright. Okay. This is what we've got so far. We got red cabbage, green cabbage, and a whole nice little pile of beautiful shallots. Okay. Next, we're going to add our spice. So I told you guys you needed oregano, and now I don't have oregano. So I'm just going to get some sort of spice blend from here. This has pink salt, oregano, marjoram, thyme, garlic. I'm going to use this. It has a little bit of oregano in it. So, how much should you put in there? That's a good question. I just use as much as I think looks good. I'd say minimum 1 teaspoon, maximum 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon is kind of a lot, in my opinion. I'd say do 1 or 2 teaspoons of your oregano, especially if you have a bowl this big. Is your stuff taking up this much room? Then you should definitely put spices in it. It tastes good. Okay, here we go. All right. Put your salt now. Put your oregano now. If that's what you have, put it in there right now. My blend had salt and oregano and some other stuff, so we're going to use that. I'm going to put a little bit extra salt. Okay. Now comes to the part where I realized this morning I don't have measurements for, so we're going to eyeball it.
This much.
Yeah, this much. Okay, so how do I explain this? We have a deep bowl. I like using deeper bowls rather than shallower bowls. For me, for whatever reason, I feel like I can fit more stuff in there and I don't have to put as much liquid. So, I'm going to show you what I usually use, which is really small, but I think I usually use, so this is like one of those Pyrex containers. This is just the liquid that I usually just use. And once you eat it, how much salt?
10.
Like a half teaspoon or a teaspoon. You know, do you like it really salty? Half a teaspoon. Half a teaspoon. And then if you make it again and you want it more salty, you use more. But I don't usually make it so I can taste the salt. I usually just put the salt in there to kind of get the salt action, which kind of salt helps kind of like cook the food. So, as does the vinegar, which is the acidic part of it, and the oils. So, usually I don't. This is the one I keep on my countertop. I come to think of it, when I usually make it, I usually make, so even if you just, this is just like a quarter of each, so it seems like a lot. It's pretty bulky. So you want to find like a container that fits all your stuff. Sometimes I end up putting it in two. I'm actually probably going to send my assistant to go get a
Glad you have an assistant.
dear assistant. So my husband is my assistant. Can you go get the Pyrex container that's bigger than this? I should check to see if I have it before I send you for it. Never mind. This is what I was going to talk about. So this Pyrex container, which is 1.75 quarts, 1.65 liters. This is the one I usually use. Okay? So your goal is to get all of your veggies covered with liquid. So you want to mix this if you can. I never can. It's just hard to mix. I don't have giant bowls.
Don't blame me.
Have I told you about my idea for a cook-along? 10 dishes or less? It's my baby's dream.
One
because he
pot
does
recipe.
the dishes around here. Oh, he wants us to go for one pot, but you still need utensils. That's what I'm saying. 10 dishes or less. So I'm literally just trying to mix it so that the purple is mixed in with the green cabbage, and the shallots are mixed in, because even though I want them to, this is not all gonna fit in here. So I think what ends up happening is I just shove more in there as I eat it and as it softens. So the vinegar and the olive oil are going to kind of cook it, and it's going to be like a softer. So more of it is going to be able to fit into this container, and more of it is going to be covered. Oh, it might actually fit. I'm just jamming it in there. And you need... The reason I use something with a lid is so that I can shut it and make it more dense. So, okay, so we're going to work with this. So you might want something with a lid. If not, it's fine. I really hate telling you guys what to do. I figure if you try and it doesn't work, we come up with something else. Okay? So I just filled this bowl with a mix of this slaw. Well, it's not quite done yet. So then I bought more olive oil because I didn't know how much I had. And we've talked about olive oils before, excuse me, and I'm just going to briefly go over olive oil protocol a la Alex, and this isn't my original idea, but it's just what I was taught, is that olive oils, you have to be careful with them because when they're imported from other countries and some companies in the United States, they sneak other oils that are not olive oil into your olive oil. And the problem with this is that olive oil is expensive and it's touted for all of these nutritional benefits. And people are sneaking not olives into our olive oil, which is really annoying. And the test that tests olive oil for purity, it's really hard to detect the specific type of oil that they slip in there. I say they, but naughty companies. And it's almost indetectable. And so the one that can detect the special oil, or the non-olive special oil that they use, is really expensive. So when you're looking for olive oils, the best thing you can do is buy it from the guy who grows the olives. That's your best bet. Not all of us know an olive grower. I don't know an olive grower. Second bet, buy something that is estate, like a single estate. That means it comes from one olive farm. That means there's a much higher likelihood that that guy's going to be only using olives from his farm, and he's probably not going to try to sneak other olives. The next thing you want to do, you want to buy organic. I don't know if that has to do specifically with the fact that we're sneaking other oils into our olive oil, but you don't want people using pesticides on your olives or on your olive tree. You don't want to be eating those pesticides, so go spring for organic. Now, my disclaimer for everything I ever tell you to buy or not buy, you do the best you can with what you have. If you don't have the money to buy single estate, organic, cold pressed olive oil from your neighbor olive grower, I'm not judging you for it. You do the best you can. It's better for you to try to eat this best olive oil you can than to have a hydrogenized oil or to use margarine. So you want to go for real foods, real olives, and if you're trying to do that, I can't fault you for it. You're doing the best you can. So California is really well known for their olives. So this one is specifically from California. It says first cold press. What does that mean? It means they didn't cook your olives. You don't need cooked olive oil. That's how your olive oil breaks or degrades. So you want your olives to be cold pressed because you don't want them smushing them on hot machinery. So olive oil is literally just smushing olives, and whatever juice comes out, that's olive oil. So that's what else you're looking for. The other thing you're looking for, my suggestion is look for something that is from the country where you live, because other countries want to sell their olive oil here because they can charge a lot of money for it, and they can sneak that really cheap oil into your olive oil. And yeah, so look for something that's grown wherever you live in the United States if you live in the U.S. And then on the back, ooh, this one says specifically produced and bottled by California Olive Branch Incorporated. Oh, I don't think that's a single estate. But anyway, along with what we talked about with the eggs, the more certifications it has, the more likely that whatever they're marketing to you is true, because the outside companies verified what they're telling you. So this one says California Olive Council Certified Extra Virgin. So this was certified by the California Olive Council. I don't know what that means. I'd have to look more into it, but that's a good sign if it's verified. And then the last thing you're looking for is a dark bottle. So this one is green, and this one's okay. This one's also a green bottle. So you're looking for a dark bottle. Don't buy your olive oil in clear bottles. Don't buy your olive oil in plastic bottles. Well, I say don't. If you can't afford not to, don't do it. Clear bottles allow for oxidation. Sunlight is bad. Heat is bad. You want to find dark bottles to protect your oils, okay? I don't keep them in the fridge. Fancy olive oil people will tell you not to keep it in the fridge. But if you live in a really hot place, I'm talking to you Phoenicians, put that stuff in the fridge. You don't want your olive oils to be sitting, cooking in your living room. Don't put them next to your oven. Don't put them next to your toaster. Don't put them next to anything that gets hot. Don't put them next to your curling iron. Put them somewhere dark and cool so that they're protected, okay? You don't want your olive oils to go bad because of heat and sunlight, okay? Where were we? We were going to pour these olive oils into this. So this one I liked because it's USDA organic. It's North American olive oil. It came in a dark bottle. It's organic. Trader Joe's, from what I saw, had a pretty good selection of olive oils. And they follow most of the stuff that I told you. So, and it's not that expensive. I don't know what that means. All I know what that means is bad olive oil. But Trader Joe's I found was pretty decent, and when I taste tested them, they tasted pretty okay as well. How you know your olive oil is good for you is you take a little shot of it, a little swig of it, and when you swallow it, it'll make you cough, like that. That's a good olive oil. That spiciness is the antioxidants that are good for you in olive oil. So that's my olive oil spiel. That's the fastest I've ever done it. So what do you do with your olive oil? You pour it in here. Okay, here we go. So the goal, the reason you want a deep bowl, is the goal is to get the top covered. That's expensive, you say to me. I know. That's why I make small batches and reuse the oil from the previous batch. Because buying good olive oil is expensive. So here I am pouring it in here into this deep bowl, and that's all I'm gonna do for now. I'm frugal. I can't pour this whole, just for the sake of you guys. I'm gonna use some of this, but I'm just gonna show you kind of the ratios. So I said I was gonna use this ume plum vinegar, but I'm actually not because it's a little bit salty, so I'm not gonna use that one. We'll use it for something else. Here's the white wine vinegar. So I'm just going to use this white wine vinegar. Use whatever you have. It's going to taste the same. It's going to taste slightly different. You want the vinegar for the acid. So like I said, you can use lime. You can use lemon. You can use whatever vinegar you have. I'm not judging you for it. You do you. Do whatever you have. So, this has a lid. I think I must have put balsamic vinegar in this mix because it's like a very dark mix. So you put your vinegar in there. I just put a splash. I don't know, experiment with your ratios. I always put less vinegar than I do olive oil. But I also love my stuff vinegary. The vinegar is what makes this like tangy and what makes it a good foil to your sweet foods or your cooked foods. So I love serving this with fish. I love serving it with my breakfast bowl, which is like usually some sort of ground meat, sweet potatoes, sauteed onions, mushrooms. I usually serve this on the side, which is kind of like a good contrast to those sweet sauteed foods, because this is cold and crispy and sour. So if you really like stuff sour, put more vinegar. If you don't like stuff as sour, don't skip the vinegar, but put less, okay? So what your goal is to get this liquid all the way to the top, okay? You want the stuff on the top to also be covered in liquid. So this is my liquid from last time. It's purple because of the purple cabbage. The purple cabbage dyed everything, and you'll see also that yours will also get dyed as well. And, oh, that barely covers anything. That sucks.
That's why I bought a new bottle.
Yeah, we did. Okay, so I would recommend doing it in a small bowl and working up to it. What, darling?
Just do it.
Just do it. Okay. So,
Oh, it's so juicy.
I'm putting more olive oil over the top and more vinegar. Vinagre. I don't know if I do it in a 50-50 ratio. It's pretty close. It's not, it shouldn't be 50. I don't know. It's not very helpful for someone who's telling you how to make something to tell you that they don't know. But I find that those are the best recipes, is where your mom's like, I don't know how I make this. I just make this.
That's
so,
right.
Just watch me do it, and I guess go from there.
I hope my mom watches this.
What?
I hope my mom watches
I know, we forgot to show her. Okay, so the best part here is that when you put the lid on and you smush down the cabbage, the more dense the cabbage is in here, the more the level of the liquid rises. So this is okay for me for now. And I might try to stuff some more cabbage in there to see if I can get the liquid level to rise. But this lid is actually not that good. It doesn't seal, so you want to find a lid that seals pretty well so you can put pressure on it and kind of compress the space between the cabbage. The air. Like, you don't want a lot of air or room for liquid between the cabbage. You want to really smush it in there. So if you have a bad lid like this one that doesn't really stay shut, I would just put something heavy on top, like this. To kind of, so now this should be good, because once the oil and the vinegar start to work on your cabbage, then everything will kind of smush down, and it'll look like you have less, but you won't. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So how are people feeling? Polly, who's still with me? That's about it. If you have any questions, ask them now. This is the best time to ask questions before I sign off. I have a note that I should try my slaw on screen to prove to you that it's good. The only problem is that I usually don't eat it the first afternoon. I keep it on the countertops, I let it do its magic, and then get out of there. Get out.
Hey.
And then I let it kind of cook on the countertop, and then I'll eat it later on in the day, or I'll eat it the next day. I recommend you do not put this in the refrigerator because the oils will start to solidify, and they won't do their magic if they're solid. So, that's it.
What about the other ones?
Other what?
Isn't there some that's already made?
Oh yeah, he wants me to try this in front of you. I'd love if you could post some measurements later. I'm guessing I did it right. Yeah, so honestly, it's really hard for me to tell you measurements. It depends on your bowl. It depends on the size of your cabbage. So I fill my bowl, then I pour olive oil until I'm like, oh my god, this is too expensive. And then I pour vinegar, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I need more olive oil. Then I pour more olive oil, then I pour more vinegar. So, Polly, how sour do you like your stuff? That's my main question. Okay, I'm going to try this in front of everyone. Oh yeah, I love this stuff. This is good.
How good?
Super good.
Super.
This is the first thing I've eaten today. Semi-sour. Yeah, go heavy on the vinegar. Did you say you have white wine vinegar? What kind of vinegar did you end up using? Because I think this is white wine vinegar, or maybe balsamic. The balsamic is good because I feel like it has like a sweeter taste, which is always delicious. But I don't think you're going to mess this up, Polly. I think you got this under control. So, you got this, girl. My dog's waiting for me to drop more. You got it, Polly. I trust you. Send me pictures so I can post it, because I think people are going to be really interested to see how the person who's not the chef did. Not that I'm a chef. Yeah, come over here. Can you try it on camera? You had this yet? We literally eat this every day. I don't know why he's acting like he wants to try it. He's like, I've never had it.
I'm hungry.
Oh, he's hungry. And we haven't eaten. Okay, this is a little heavy on the oil. So you don't actually have to go that heavy on the oil because then it'll get oily. So go heavy on the vinegar. Yeah, it's good.
Curtido, yeah.
We love it. We love it in this house, which is why we make it all the time.
Yeah, if you eat it with meat, you don't even have to put salt.
Oh yeah. So Sergio says that if you eat it with meat, you don't even have to. That's not true. I put salt. But it's good with meat. It's good with protein. It's good with.
Let's go with fish.
Umami. It's great with fish. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Polly. I'm so happy you joined me. What a serendipitous moment that you were available and you had the ingredients. So awesome. Thanks for all of those who are watching later. I love you guys. You've been so supportive. It's so encouraging. I love doing this, and we're going to still probably do like a final suggestion poll about Valentine's Day. So if you still have Valentine's Day suggestions, let me know. Besides that, I really do love you guys, and send me pictures of your slaw and what you're eating them with. And last but not least, if you have leftover cabbage, I would recommend you saute it. Keep slicing it, saute it, and cook it as if you were trying to like cook saute an onion. The longer you cook it, the softer it is, and it's really good. Sauteed onions or sauteed cabbage, I use it in the morning. I sometimes serve it with sweet potatoes. So be creative with your cabbage, and if you like this after a day or half a day, then you can cut the rest of your cabbage and just keep adding it as you're eating it. So, love you guys. Thank you. Join me next week. There's a link in the bio to tell you what we're making next week. So, love you guys. Bye.